This is a special report from ABC News Digital.
I'm Dan Klepler in New York with this ABC News Digital special report. For millions of Americans watching the Super Bowl Sunday night, the commercial breaks won't be breaks at all, in fact. Whatever happens on the gridiron, the subject of online chatter is sure to be split between the game and, of course, the ads. This year, though, there is as much to talk about the spots you will see as the ones that you will not be seeing. So joining us now, two people intimately familiar with Super Bowl ads, Adweek's Sam Thielman and brand strategist Peter Shankman. Guys, thanks for being with us today. Happy Eve of Super Bowl.
Eve of Super Bowl.
So Sam, let me start with this. Scarlett Johansson for SodaStream, probably the ad that has sparked the most controversy. Sure. The original version was rejected because it taunted Pepsi, a Super Bowl sponsor. Right. Instead, they ended with this. Take a look at the final version.
Like most actors, my real job is saving the world. Start with plain water, add bubbles, mix in the perfect flavor. Look, a soda that's better for you and all of us. Less sugar, less bottles. If only I could make this message go viral.
Whoa, you doing it, Scarlett. Yeah, you doing it. Changing the world, one sip at a time.
Sorry, Coke and Pepsi.
Oh yeah, she done it. SodaStream.
Okay, so beyond taunting Pepsi, the bigger issue is where SodaStream manufactures its products. What's the crux of the debate here?
Well, the problem from the perspective of Oxfam, which is another company that uses Scarlett Johansson as sort of their face, as one of their sort of brand representatives, is that SodaStream's manufacturing plant is in an Israeli settlement in the West Bank, and those are considered illegal by international law, and Oxfam is, up in arms about it. On the other hand, the plant does employ about 500 Palestinians. On yet a third hand, all those Palestinians have to get permits from the Israeli government to work there in what is technically their land, and it's a huge mess, I think, for everybody involved. Johansson has sided very publicly with SodaStream. She stepped down as the Oxfam representative and has said that she thinks SodaStream is doing a lot to build a bridge between the Palestinian and Israeli communities. Oxfam doesn't agree, and there's a large movement to sort of boycott any business that's based in those settlements.
Really, this is an ad that I think a lot of people actually started to find out a little bit more about the product, which I think raises a great question, the fact that people are really much more concerned. Yes, we can be entertained and dazzled when we see Scarlett Johansson, but we do want to know where the products come from.
Sure.
Well, keep in mind also that this ad went viral and sort of got its virality when the media started reporting on the fact that it had this backstory. So that's one of the key reasons that Super Bowl is so powerful. 50% of the ads that are made for the Super Bowl have never had any intention of launching. They make ad. GoDaddy is a master at this. They make an ad every year that they know is too hot for TV. They wait for it to they submit it, they wait for it to be rejected, and they post it online. And they get more views that way than almost anything else. When the ads are talked about on TV, on Facebook, on Twitter, in the social sphere, they get almost more recognition and more brand awareness out of that than they do out of the actual game. By the time the game airs, it's the afterthought. Oh, there's the ad that we've been talking about for the past 2 weeks.
Right. In fact, I do want to play GoDaddy in just a second. But first, Sam, I want to ask you about something that you wrote about the Cheerios ad featuring a biracial family that certainly gained a lot of attention on this. Cheerios now has a new ad out for the Super Bowl with the same family. Take a look at the spot.
Hey, Gracie. You know how our family has Daddy and Mommy?
And me.
Yeah, that's right. Pretty soon, you're going to have a baby brother.
And a puppy.
Deal.
Sam, I want to start with you. How much is it a social statement? How much is it marketing?
I don't know. I think a little bit 50-50. It's adorable. That sort of cherubic little girl is somebody everyone sort of enjoys watching. But there was such backlash against the original ad with this interracial family that I feel like this is, on the one hand, it's an effort to capitalize on the sort of circling the wagons around the brand a couple of years, or last year, I guess, when the first ad aired. On the other hand, it's a little more pointed. If you really object to, if you really think human beings should breed like show dogs, you're going to be very upset that this ad is about another child coming from this beautiful couple.
I think you can take it a step further. I actually give Cheerios a lot of credit for repeating this ad. When
I
it
do
first
too.
came out, they got such a ton of backlash. And of course, it's the same backlash they get when any advertisement like that plays. It comes from certain sections of America that you expect this to come from. And of course, the Huffington Post and BuzzFeed runs to post the top 25 most hateful, racist tweets from the Cheerios ad. You know, they knew exactly what they were doing, and I give them a lot of credit for not creating a softer ad, but standing by their morals and say, hey, you know what? We're going to air this. And of course, the flip side is they get a ton of exposure out of it. They get a ton of exposure out of it.
It is interesting because these companies that have to walk a very, very fine line, because obviously they have to appeal to a mass audience, but at the same time, in order to make something that's going to be impactful, that's going to be potentially viral, you do have to push some kind of boundary.
And I think that's an excellent point, because white supremacists are a vocal but tiny minority. Everybody loves to jump up and down on white supremacists.
One thing if you're talking about a segment of society that's big and you're doing something, you know, the gay marriage, for instance, even though it's being accepted in more and more states as law, there's still a very vocal segment of society, a large segment of society, that doesn't agree with it. The racist segment of society, as it were, while it does still exist, power-wise, it's a very, very small segment. No one comes out. People come out and say, I'm against gay marriage. It's very rare that people come out and say, I'm racist. So Cheerios to do this is, I think, very, very smart. And again, it gets people talking about it.
You're right. And I think you actually bring up a great point in saying that we look and see how big are those groups, or just how loud is that group in proportion to the size of it. Peter, I want to ask you about Daniel Defense. The gunmaker's ad banned altogether from the broadcast, but I want to take a look at the spot that the NFL turned down.
And my family's safety is my highest priority. I am responsible for their protection. And no one has the right to tell me how to defend them. So I've chosen the most effective tool for the job.
Daniel Defense. Defending your nation. Defending your home.
It's scary.
There's a lot going on in that ad.
That's
Break
scary.
it down, Peter.
Well, I mean, you know, first and foremost, I almost want to think that it's brought to you by the Stand Your Ground law in the state of Florida. You know, it's a frightening ad. Being in New York, you know, it's a frightening ad because we don't see that on a regular basis. But I think the problem with that ad is that over the past 3 months, there have been how many school shootings, how many university shootings, a mall shooting. You know, it's very difficult to break apart guns from shootings. You know, protection, self-protection, it's protected in the Constitution. We get that. But as the average consumer, it's very, very hard to differentiate a gun for self-protection and family protection versus the gun that killed 20 children. And it's very difficult. And to get rejected, I have to say it does make sense that they wouldn't allow that ad to run. It's way too controversial. It doesn't poke fun at anything. It's not controversial because they're showing Kate Upton in a slinky swimsuit. It's controversial because in the news 2 days ago, people died. So it's not something that the Super Bowl, I think, wants to embrace. And it does create a lot of controversy. So I think it was probably the right decision for Fox to get rid of that.
Sam, let me ask you about that, because I mean, if in fact did Daniel Defense actually create that ad knowing that they probably was going to be a very low likelihood that it actually would make air, but that it would get people talking about it?
Absolutely, they did. I mean, in fact, the NFL came out the other day and said that they'd never even seen the ad, that it was news to them that it had been rejected because it wasn't submitted. They also said that, yes, of course, we would have rejected this because we don't have anything in the guns category. That's on the list of rules that has been published for a very long time. It also, though, it kind of hits all of the high points for, I mean, I grew up around guns, and I think if you're really into guns, this sort of hits everything that you're interested in. The guy's a veteran, his wife is smoking hot, he has an adorable new baby. It's tailor-made for people who will be interested in the product. So on the one hand, it is made to get attention. On the other hand, it's also speaking to the people to whom Daniel Defense is trying to sell guns.
And understand one more key point about this ad is that the Super Bowl, you know, we live in the age of YouTube now, in the age of Facebook, in the age of being able to share things. 10 years ago, they would have created this ad. It would have been turned down. There would have been one story about it. It never would have gotten any play. This ad is getting shared left and right under the guise of, oh, I can't believe the liberals on TV wouldn't let this air. Da, 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 da. You know, 10 years ago, there was no place to share that. So people might have talked about it over the water cooler, but you never would have seen it. I never even heard of Daniel Defense before this story started. So, you know, that becomes something else thanks to the world of YouTube and Facebook in which we live now.
Well, one of the advertisers, as we mentioned earlier, that did actually dial it down, GoDaddy.com, they've had some pretty strong, you might want to call them raunchy ads in the past Super Bowls. Some, in fact, accused of being sexist.
Or just gross.
Well, questionable. I think that's a safe adjective. This year they have toned it down their standards, but this is what we used to see.
There are two sides to GoDaddy. There's the sexy side represented by Bar Raffaelli, and the smart side that creates a killer website for your small business represented by Walter.
All right, so it goes on to continue, and we cut out. I mean,
I'm glad you cut
the punchline. You're glad that we cut there.
No, we all appreciate that.
There it is.
Oh,
That's
man.
what we're all waiting for. Oh, come on, guys! Every guy in America had a shot. They were encouraged.
Well, yeah, but it's not us. The point is, it's not us doing
nobody's
that. Nobody's
paying Bar Raffaelli to kiss either of us.
All right, well, we'll make calls later on. Okay, but this is what they're doing this year. Take a look.
It's a beauteous day, a wondrous day. The flowers bloom and the animals play. The sun peeks out and I need to shout in a happy way. It's a beauteous, wondrous, simply scrumptious day.
It's go time.
It's a beauteous, wondrous, simply scrumptious day.
I give that, look, love or hate GoDaddy. I mean, their CEO got a ton of in trouble a couple of years ago for going and shooting an elephant. They're not the most PC company in the world, but let's face it, they were a nobody. If you talk to people about domain name, you talk to a regular person about domain name companies who doesn't know the internet, who doesn't work on this for a living, they're going to know the name GoDaddy. So that's their reputation, and they do it really well. Love them or hate them, they do it well.
Well, and I think it's also true that this shtick was getting old. I mean, this was like the third or fourth ad they'd aired where the only thing interesting in it was that they had a attractive model sort of like glowering at the screen. Like that's been their mode for a long time, and they've switched it up, and they've made a very funny ad. I think this is just good creative.
What I like about the ad also, it does cater to business. It says, hey, you know what, use us, and people will come to your store.
People will come running.
And let's face it, the point of using any company is to generate more revenue for your company.
Right, exactly. Sam, also a matter of debate. Another ad that you're not going to be seeing this Sunday. This is for Enjoy, the e-cigarette maker.
Yes.
No tobacco, so it's legal to show. But again, the NFL thought better of it. What was the league's concern about putting this ad on?
I think it just toes the line on the tobacco product ban, which is another. I mean, actually, I think that's not just the NFL; that's everybody.
Yeah.
But they again, they're very strict. They have people kind of lined up around the block to pay that $4 million for a 30-second ad. So I feel like this is maybe just something that they felt was close enough that they didn't really have to take the risk, so they didn't.
There's another point to consider as well. This is the Super Bowl. This is the game that is watched by everyone in the world, including every single letter writer who writes to the FTC about anything that they do.
That's really true.
Including, keep in mind, this is the game where Janet Jackson had her shirt ripped off.
It's in fact the 10th anniversary of
it's
that
the 10th anniversary of Boobgate, right? So we're watching TV. Oh my God, this happened. Won't somebody think of the children? The NFL said, you know what? We're not touching this with a 10-foot electronic cigarette.
Yeah, we come up with some kind of like an anniversary, like a commemorative, like an armband or something to recognize a decade later.
I have a little, I have a little patch across my chest that I'm going to wear.
I thought I saw that online. I didn't want to bring it up.
I was going to get Peter to rip it off at the end of the segment.
Hey, well, we got a couple of minutes left, so just be prepared for it, Justin.
Just cut at the right time.
Exactly. I want to talk about another ad that we're going to see because it won a contest sponsored by Intuit, the financial accounting company, known for running Mint.com. This is for Goldie Blocks, an innovative toy maker. Here's a look at it. It's probably one of those impressive Rube Goldberg's designs I've ever seen, so you got to give him that at least. But Peter, I mean, what does it mean for Goldie Blocks in the end? I mean, how much is it really worth getting that ad on the air?
Well, it's a good advertisement. I'm pretty sure that was the same ad that had, it was on the web and it had music that wasn't licensed properly, and there was a back and forth lawsuit. If this is a way for them to springboard out of that, no pun intended, to get out of that and to actually focus on the product, which is a good product. I have a 9-month-old daughter at home, and I want to get this product for her as she grows up. If this helps them do that, and if they've learned their lesson as to not steal music. I think it's a beneficial ad. And look, the fact of the matter is it won the contest, so to get it on there will introduce a whole segment of society to Goldie Blocks who didn't know them before.
Sam, thoughts?
Well, it's interesting because I feel like this is a category. I mean, it's great that they won the contest and didn't, end up. I guess that means that they didn't pay out the $4 million for the spot because they're not in a category that traditionally does super well in the Super Bowl. I mean, if you're opening a movie soon or you're rolling out a brand new car, then you really want spots in the Super Bowl. But I feel like this is maybe a little less of an interesting category for that market. On the other hand, the bragging rights are huge.
Yeah.
We had an ad in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
All right. Well, let me ask you guys: brand ad guys, you guys even watch the game? Or do you just fast forward?
I know there's a bunch of guys on a field. No, wait, that's the Puppy Bowl. There's a bunch of puppies on the field, and then the advertisements for the Super Bowl.
I always forget how many passes it takes to make par. Can someone tell me?
I know. I think it's 3-point at the free throw line.
Thank you. Everyone
like,
just laughs when I
is.
say that. Yeah.
I don't know. Wikipedia that up. Peter Shankman, brand strategist and ad week, Sam Thielman. Guys, thanks so much. Have a good Super Bowl weekend to you guys. And, of course, for all the latest on the controversy swirling around Super Bowl Sunday's ad slate, stay right here on abcnews.com. For now, I'm Dan Kleffler in New York with this ABC News Digital Special Report.